All right, Mr. Seda, why don't we start with your question, and we'll see if we actually need to get a copy of those exhibits in front of the witness.
All right. Mr. Bradley?
Yes, I'm here.
All of a sudden, I've lost you on the screen. There we go. Well, you're on the Zoom. You're on YouTube, but you're not on the Zoom itself. But not that I can see.
I'm here. I can hear you.
No, I know. I think his visuals may be a little different. So hold tight, Mr. Seda. We could try to correct that.
Yeah, he was on. He was on when Miss Merchant was asking questions.
We need to
able to see
you. We need to add a spotlight to to the witness stand and a spotlight to Mr. Seda, and we don't need all the other boxes.
There we go. Thank you very much.
Well, then hold tight, Mr. Seda. We need to add you as well. All right, now we're ready.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bradley, you have referred to Mr. Wade as your client, correct?
Correct.
You understand that the court has ruled that communications that you had with Mr. Wade are not privileged, correct?
No, I'm aware that the court ruled that one specific dealing with the time frame of one specific conversation wasn't privileged.
Then I'm going to ask Your Honor if it's that the limitation, or
to clarify,
email.
Sure, Mr. Seda, you asked whether all communications with Mr. Wade, I think, were covered. That was not the extent of the ruling. The only ones that I deemed were not covered, and that I'd asked about in the in-camera hearing, because those are the ones that were relevant, were any communications Mr. Wade made regarding the existence or non-existence of a romantic relationship with Ms. Willis.
Fine, thank you, Your Honor. I understand. So going back to this line of inquiry, when you say you don't have personal knowledge, what I want to ask you to start with is very simple. Did you have communications with Mr. Wade about the relationship between Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis? It's a simple yes and no.
Yes.
Okay. And is it your testimony that during the time you were representing him, which I understood started sometime in 2018, is that correct?
That's the time frame that I remember, yes.
Okay. Is it your testimony under oath that with regard to conversations with Mr. Wade about his relationship with Ms. Willis, that you only had one such conversation during the time you represented Mr. Wade?
One conversation of what? I apologize.
The only thing I'm asking about is that area that the court said is not privileged, which is the relationship between Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis. You've testified that during the time you represented Mr. Wade from 2018 on, that you only had one conversation with him in reference to the relationship between Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's fairly accurate, yes.
Okay, so out of the entire time I'm talking about could be 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. When did you stop representing Mr. Wade?
It was a few months after I left the firm.
All right, give me the approximate time.
I left maybe June, July of 2022, maybe.
Okay, so that would suggest that for, assuming it's 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and half of 2022, which is in the vicinity of 4 to 4.5 years, you're testifying under oath you had one conversation about a relationship between Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis. Is that correct?
I don't recall having any other conversation with Mr. Wade about him and Ms. Willis.
Is it your testimony then that you don't remember any other conversation, or there wasn't any other conversation besides the one?
I'm going to object as to asked and answered.
I think he's drilling down. I think that's a fair question overruled.
I don't recall. I would say it was the one, but I don't recall.
You testified that you did have communications with Mr. Wade about him visiting with Miss Willis at a condo or apartment, correct?
I don't think I testified that I had a conversation. I testified that any knowledge that I would have known anything about any condo would have come from that, but I don't recall a conversation about that. I do not recall a conversation about that.
Do you recall any other thing at this point in time under oath that would indicate when the relationship started between Mr. Wade and Miss Willis?
I do not know when the relationship started between Mr. Wade and Miss Willis. I cannot recall that. I can't. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm going to drill down on that now, okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wade was hired as the special prosecutor on November 1st of 2021. You're aware of that, correct?
I have my contracts to show when I started. No one showed me the contract of when he started, but if he has a contract for November 1st of 2021, then that's correct.
All right. I'm going to suggest to you that the record will reflect that the contract between Miss Willis and Mr. Wade was November 1st of 2021, correct? I want you just to accept that, okay? Is it your testimony that you don't know under oath whether or not there was a relationship between Mr. Wade and Miss Willis before the contract?
I do not recall any dates of when the relationship started. So whether you are pinpointing a date of when his contract started or not, I'm telling you, I did not recall any specific date that he flat out said anything about a relationship with Miss Willis.
Okay. Now I want to go, based on what you've just said, let's go to what was Defense Exhibit 26. Okay? In Defense Exhibit 26, which I showed you last time, was 2 pages of text messages between you and Miss Merchant, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, the first page starts off by saying, Miss Merchant, like, just date, don't hire him. Do you think it started before she hired him? You see that?
Yes, I see it. Yes.
And your response to that was absolutely, correct?
I'm going to object, asked and answered cumulatively.
All right. So, Mr. Sato, I do think we went through a lot of these texts.
We didn't go through this whole one.
Just a second, Mr. Sato. All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Sato. You said we didn't go through this particular one?
No, we stopped right there. I want to go.
I answered because this is the exact language that she just stated a few minutes ago. You could read it back.
Okay, Mr. Sato. Are you saying both of these 2 exhibits weren't already covered by Ms. Merchant?
It was not gone, this particular language was not gone into. I'm doing it based on the exhibit itself. Well, let's do it this way. I now move into evidence defense exhibit number 26.
All right, and I'd have to search through my notes, but does anyone recall that one actually been tendered in a minute already?
It was.
No, it was only presented to your honor for you to take back into camera ex parte to speak with Mr. Bradley and his counsel.
Okay, Ms. Merchant is indicating that it was admitted.
I thought Mr. Sadow admitted it, but I'm organizing, putting them back in order. So I think it might be easier if I just submit the copies of the
All
right.
that we're all referring to.
All right, so Defense Exhibit 26 and 27 are being tendered.
Well, actually, only 26 at this
Excuse
time,
me. Okay, Defense Exhibit 6. Any objection from the state?
but 26.
26.
I'm going to object as it relates to foundation and authentication. It was used to, during the last hearing for the purposes of refreshing his recollection. And it's my recollection is that it didn't refresh his recollection, but I would renew my objection as to asked and answered and cumulative.
Okay. As to foundation on authentication, I think Mr. Bradley has recognized them as texts that he sent and received. So I think I'd overrule on that basis. Any other objections to their admissibility from any other defense counsel? And seeing none, Defense Exhibit 26 is now admitted. Mr. Sadow.
Thank you. All right, let's continue. Now I'm publishing it. After you said the word absolutely, on your own, you said it started when she left the DA's office and was judge in South Fulton.
No, I'm
They met at,
object, asked and answered.
All right, understood, Mr. Body. I'm going to let Mr. Sadow have a few minutes on this, and we'll go from there. But
Judge, well, I'm sorry. I did answer this. I answered it for Ms.
Understood.
Merchant. I stated that I was speculating. The judge, someone objected to the speculation, but this was the exact same language.
All right, well, thank you
when
for
I
that
said
recap,
that
Mr. Bradley. Mr. Sadow is
speculate.
asking the question in a slightly different manner, and I'm going to give him a little bit of leeway to do that. So, Mr. Sadow.
all right, I hesitate to have to start back where I was, but after the word absolutely, you on your own said it started when she left the DA's office and was judge in South Fulton. They met at the municipal court CLE conference. That's what you said, correct?
That is correct.
It's your testimony, at least so far, that when you on your own gave those two statements in the text, that you were merely speculating and did not have that knowledge from Mr. Wade. Is that your testimony under oath?
Yes, that's what I testified to. Yes, sir.
So you on your own came up with the whole notion that it started when she left the DA's office and was judge in South Fulton. That's, according to you, that's speculation on your part, correct?
Asked and
Overruled.
answered.
Answer the question, Mr. Bradley.
Yes, that's speculation on my part. Yes.
Right. It had nothing to do with what Mr. Wade had told you, correct?
I answered your question. I was speculating to the answer. That is correct.
So maybe you can tell the court in your own words, why in the heck would you speculate in this text message and say that it started when she left the DA's office and was a judge in South Fulton? Why would you speculate and say that in a text?
I knew they had met at the municipal court conference.
How do you know that? I'll stop you right there. How did you know that?
I answered that at the last.
I'm
I knew
asking
that.
you now.
I knew that
Sir,
because
I'm
when
asking you now. I'm asking you questions, and you are in a situation where you get to give answers.
Mhm.
I'm asking you, how did you know that?
how did I know when they met?
Somebody told you that, right?
When they met?
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Who told you?
Mr. Wade told me when they met.
So you had more than one conversation about the relationship between Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis because he told you where he met her.
That's
Correct?
incorrect. Incorrect.
It's incorrect.
It's incorrect.
Let's go back to the exhibit. Why would you speculate that that's when they started the relationship? What would cause you to put that down as speculation?
I don't recall, but why I thought that it started at that time. But I do recall that he only met her, and I testified to that he met her at that conference, which was in 2019.
You knew that Ashley Merchant represented a defendant in this case when you were text messaging with her, correct?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And you knew that the reason she was asking you questions about Mr. Wade was because she was trying to show when the relationship began, correct?
No, that's not
It's not.
100%
Look at the
correct.
beginning of the text message.
Yes, but what
Text message.
messages were before this message, before she said that?
I can't answer that question because I don't have them. All I have is what's in front of you.
Yes.
And it says that she says, do you think it started before she hired me? So you knew, as the counsel for a defendant in this case, that Ms. Merchant was asking you specifically about the knowledge that you had regarding the timing of the relationship between Wade and Ms. Willis, correct?
I mean, based on this, yes, I see what
And
was
in-
asked.
And in response to that, you answered directly on your own what you now claim to be speculation, right?
That's correct.
So I ask you one more time before I move to the next part of this. Why would you speculate when she was asking you a direct question about when the relationship started?
I have no answer for that.
Except for the fact that you do in fact know when it started and you don't want to testify to that in court. That's the best explanation, isn't it?
This is completely
Overruled.
argumentative.
That's the true explanation because you don't want to admit it in court, correct?
No, I have no direct knowledge of when the relationship started.
I'm not going to go back through that again. But if you didn't know and you were asked specifically as this exhibit shows,
Mhm.
maybe you can explain why you wouldn't say, I don't know.
Is that a question? You're asking
Oh,
me a
yeah,
question
it's
to
a
answer?
definite question.
State that again. I apologize.
If you're being asked, as we've just gone through with this text message from Ms. Merchant,
Yes.
as the attorney for a co-defendant,
Yes.
and she's asking you about the relationship, and she's clearly asking you about the timing, why wouldn't you just have said in response, I don't know when it started?
I don't know why I didn't say I don't know.
Maybe, again, it's because you know what the truth is, and that's why you answered exactly the way you did in Defense Exhibit 26, correct?
No, I can't sit here and tell you that what you just stated was correct.
Right. What you want the court to believe, and you want the rest of us to believe, is that for some unknown reason, upon being asked a direct question about when the relationship started, you decided on your own to simply speculate and put it down in a text message as opposed to putting down what you actually knew. That's what you want the court to believe, correct?
That was a lot. So can you break that down? I apologize. You're asking me, do I want the court to just
To believe that instead of saying nothing, you decided on your own to speculate.
Yes, I speculated. Yes, I've stated
that's-
that I speculated. Yes, sir.
That's what you want the court to believe, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, now, then when you go to the next page of that, okay, you see it starts, the best that I can see, it starts in South Fulton. Is that what you have in front of you? Second page.
The second page that I have says, that's what I figured.
Okay, that may be cut off from the one that I have. That I'm looking at my opening line says in South Fulton. Is that on your second page?
No, so if you're going in order of the pages, no, neither page starts with South Fulton.
No, don't get caught up on whether it starts that way. Does the second page have a line in there that says in South Fulton?
Oh, yes, I apologize. So, yes,
That's fine. I
yes,
just want to make sure that we're on the same page.
yes.
Okay. You say after in South Fulton, they met at the municipal court CLE conference, right?
Yes.
You see that?
Yes, that's correct.
And then Miss Merchant says, that's what I figured when he was married. Is this accurate? Upon information and belief, Willis and Wade met while both were serving as magistrate judges and began a romantic relationship at that time. You see, that's what she said, right?
No, I mean, so it says they
Wait.
met at municipal court CLE. The only other thing here says that's what I figured when he was married. There's no response for me on that day. And then there's another response. I guess a question that says, is this accurate?
Okay, that's what I just went over with you.
Okay, so I don't have anything in that. Is this accurate at all? I can show the court.
No.
It just says, is this accurate with the question mark? I don't have anything following that.
You don't have, after that, upon information and belief, Willis and Wade met while both were serving as magistrate judges and began a romantic relationship
Okay,
at that.
I apologize. It goes to the next page. I apologize.
No problem.
Yes.
Just want to make sure
So
that.
no, I see that now. Yes.
All right. So that's what I just read is exactly what Ms. Merchant said to you in the text, right?
Yes, that was in the text. Is it accurate upon further information? Yes, that's there.
And again, since you have told us that you were speculating when you gave the answer that we went over with previously, on this one, you don't say, I don't know. You simply correct her by saying no, municipal court, right?
Yes, so she asked, was it accurate? And I said it wasn't accurate. No, it wasn't accurate. It was municipal court.
Right. And when you said it wasn't accurate, it was municipal court, you didn't say, no, that's not accurate. They didn't start a romantic relationship at that time, correct?
No, but I was referring to the municipal court. No, it wasn't accurate as it applied to I was answering the no municipal court, meaning when she said, is that accurate? It was to the municipal court and not magistrate court.
Okay. But you didn't say that the rest of what she asked you was accurate. You didn't say, no, that's inaccurate. That's not true. That's not accurate. You simply said the only thing that wasn't accurate was municipal court should be there instead of magistrate, right?
So I was answering the question of, it was a compound question. And I was answering the question of, she wrote magistrate court and I said, no, municipal court.
Right, but it's not compound. It's one statement upon
Mr. Sadow.
information and belief. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I know the feedback and the delay is complicates things, but I think you've adequately made your point here. I don't think we need to belabor it much longer. Let's move on to the next issue.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Bradley, prior to coming into court today, did you and your lawyer meet with anyone from the district attorney's office?
No. I mean,
Did your-
no, not that I know, I'm aware of, no. I
Have
did
you
not
had
meet to
any-
anyone.
Sorry.
I did not
cut
meet
you
with
off.
anyone outside of my attorneys.
Did you have any conversation?
I did not.
Meeting, conversation.
I did not.
So you have not spoken, if I understand you correctly, prior to coming into court today, you've not spoken with the prosecutors,
No,
right?
I've not spoken to the prosecutors. I've not spoken to defense.
Have you spoken to Mr. Wade?
No,
So as far as just getting into the courtroom today, there's been no contact or conversation in it with any of the parties we just went over, right?
there has not been any contact with defense or the state at all.
I think I have basically just one or two more questions. Why would you see the need to speculate when you were texting with Miss Merchant?
I think we did cover that one, Mr. Sadow. I think that exact question was already put to him. What would be the next one?
I'm trying to look. Let's go to 27. Defense Exhibit 27. Do you have that now, sir?
I do, sir.
All right. Would you look at it and tell me whether or not the Defense Exhibit 27 appears to be accurate? Because I want to seek to introduce it into evidence. It consists of an email to you from Ms. Merchant and a text response from you, correct?
But the text response was not in response. So yes, it does consist of the email and a text response. I'm not saying that the text response applies to the entire email that was sent.
All I've asked you right now is,
Yes,
is the email and the text, are those accurate in the interaction that makes up Defense Exhibit 27?
as it applies to the stapling of the email and the stapling of a text message chain, yes, that is Defendant's Exhibit 27. This is, it's accurate.
Okay, I would move Defense Exhibit 27 in. I believe it was treated the same way as 26 last time.
Same objections, Mr. Abadi?
Yes, Judge.
All right, overruled. Any other objections from defense counsel? Seeing none, Defense Exhibit 27 is admitted.
All right.
Anything else?
Your Honor, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know whether you'll find it's objectionable or not. I'll ask it, obviously.
All right.
Mr. Bradley, you realize that if you were to testify under oath, that you knew from Mr. Wade that the relationship between him and Miss Willis existed before the contract in November 1st of 2021, that if you testified that you knew that from Mr. Wade, that would show that both Miss Willis and Mr. Wade had lied under oath. You know that, don't you?
I'm going to object.
I think that's going to call for an opinion on the credibility of another testifying witness. So I don't think that would be an appropriate question.
Then that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Sadow. Mr. Stockton.
Mr.